Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we begin with chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. 4.1 Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Proktavan Aham Avyayam
Aham Avyayam
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Vivasva Manave Praha
Manur Ikshvakave Brahvet.
Manur Ikshva Kave Bravit.
Can somebody please read?
Okay, I can read.
Okay, please.
Translation. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivashwan, and Vivashwan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Herein we find the history of the Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivashwan, the king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Yach Chaksur, Esha Savita, Sakala Grahanam, Raja Samasta Sura Murti, Asesa Teja, Yashya Jnana, Brahmati Sambrata, Kal Chakro, Govindam Adi Purusham, Tam Aham Bhajami. Let me worship, Lord Brahma said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda Krishna, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of the planets and the sun god. At present, the name Vivashwan rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivashwan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not, therefore, a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but it is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. In the Mahabharata, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. Treta Yuga Dau Cha Tato Vivashwan Manave Dadau Manuscha Loka Bharte Artham Suta Yekshwakave Dadau Ikshwakuna Cha Kathito Vyapya Lokan Avasthita. In the beginning of the millennium, known as Treta Yuga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivashwan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ikshwaku. the king of this earth planet and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramchandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaja Ikshwaku. At the present moment, we just passed through 5,000 years of the Kalpa, which last 432,000 years. Before there was Dwapar Yug, 800,000 years, and before that there was Treta Yug, 1,200,000 years. Thus, some 2,005,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaja Ikshwaku, the king of the planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last some 305 million years, 305,300,000 years, of which these much years have passed. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivashwan. A rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago, and in human society it has been extant for 2 million years. It was respoken by the Lord again to Arjuna about 5,000. That is the rough estimate of the history of the Gita. According to the Gita itself and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Sri Krishna, it was spoken to the sun god Vivashwan, because he is also Kshatriya and he is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god, or the Surya Vamsa Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This knowledge is Aparushya, superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are, without human interpretation, the Gita must therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. The mundane wranglers may speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciplic succession. And it is described herein that the Lord spoke to the sun god spoke to his son Manu, and Manu spoke to his son Ikshwaku.
So we can see transcendental knowledge here, Krishna. The title of the chapter itself is Transcendental Knowledge. So it's not that Krishna spoke the 5,000 years ago Bhagavad Gita for the first time. No, Bhagavad Gita has been spoken eternally. Here Krishna is saying, I gave it to sun god Vivaswan. Vivaswan gave it to Manu. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. So Prabhupada is doing the calculation as saying knowledge of Bhagavad Gita has been here since around 2 million years. So we can understand, I mean, which book which is that old do we still find relevant today? If it's on the material platform, things change, times change, it becomes irrelevant. But Bhagavad Gita is relevant as much as it was 5,000 years ago or 2 million years ago. It's as much as it is relevant today. You can see because it is spiritual. Why is it called Aparusheya?
Because it's superhuman. Knowledge is superhuman.
Yeah, because Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And Bhagavad Gita is spoken by him. If Krishna was just an ordinary person, then we wouldn't be trying to study some knowledge which is 2 million years old, No. Many people they say that, oh, Krishna his form is material. No. No, then Bhagavad Gita would have no meaning. Bhagavad Gita is Aparushe. Because Krishna is the speaker. Now Prabhupada is putting us the length of the different ages. So Satyuga, of course, Prabhupada is not put. Treta Yuga is there. Treta Yuga is how many years?
1,200,000 years.
Yeah, and Dwapara Yug?
It's
Or like, no, sorry,
800,000.
800,000.
800,000. Yeah, and Kali Yug?
Or like 37,000.
432,000. Yeah. Satyug is supposed to be 1,700,000 some years. 1726 or something like that. So anyway,
And like here it's written the age of current Manu is calculated to last some, this much years. So what exactly is Manu here?
okay, so in one day of Brahma, these Chatur Yugas come 1,000 times. Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, Kali Yug, these yugas, Chatur Yug it's called if you calculate all four of them. All of them come 1,000 times in 12 hours of Brahma. One day of Brahma, it's called. Not night, huh? Day, 12 hours. And during this 12 hours of Brahma, there are 14 Manus.
Okay.
So each Manu stays for about 71 of these Chatur Yugas. So this is the Manu. He's the king of mankind. He's there to guide us. And his age is calculated according to that. According to the age of Brahma, there are 14 of them. So each one of them has 305,300,000 years. Is
Okay,
that okay?
14. So in 24 hours, there will be 28 Manus, right?
Yeah, but in the night of Brahma, everything, the lower planets, they're all dissolved. It's only the higher planets that there is, uh, the higher planets remain. Up to Swargalok is all dissolved, is all inundated in water during the night of Brahma. Only the higher planets remain.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
So
understand that in one day of Manu, there's 14, I'm sorry, one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus.
one day of Brahma, 14 Manus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Krishna is saying he gave this science to, who did he give it to first to?
Sun God.
Yeah. What's the name of sun god?
Vivaswan.
Vivaswan.
Vivaswan. So this particular sun god, because sun god is also a post, no? So this particular sun god's name is Vivaswan. Vivaswan gave it to Manu, and Manu gave it to
Ikshvaku.
Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku. And that is he's the as what Prabhupada is writing, forefather of the Raghu dynasty, Surya Vamshi, as we say, right? So who had appeared in this? Which great personality had appeared in this Surya Vamshi?
Ramchandra.
Yeah,
Ramchandra.
yeah, Ramchandra. So we can see then, Bhagavad Gita is not understood only on this planet. It's being understood on different planets all over the universe. It's being spoken eternally. Knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is eternal. Now, under whose order is the sun moving in its orbit?
Whose
Is
order?
it your order, my order? Huh?
Lord Krishna.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Under Krishna's order, the sun is not whimsical. It's not that he decided one day, I'm gonna go and get up in the east and rise in the west. No. Yeah, Lord Brahma is very specifically pointing out it's under the order of Krishna. Krishna is the original person. Govindam Adi Purusham. Original person. If we do research work, we'll find our father, father's father, father's father. Like that, we'll come to Brahmaji in this universe. And Brahmaji, who says, who's his father? He says Krishna. So Krishna is the origin of all. Then we are trying to understand how to receive this transcendental knowledge. Now we are seeing that so many millions of years ago, then Vivaswan gave to Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. So it's not that people are just imagining this knowledge. No, it's being heard. It's heard in the disciplic succession. This is what in the next verse Krishna is going um, to stress on. Okay. Yeah. Again, Prabhupada is writing human life. What is meant? What is the goal of human life? What is it required to do? Is meant for what?
For getting spiritual knowledge and and having a relationship with the Lord.
Eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. This is our human life is meant for, to cultivate spiritual knowledge and revive our eternal relationship with Krishna. We have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. And we can do that. That's the goal of human life. Lord Chaitanya says, Prema Pumartho Maha. The goal of life is to revive our love for Krishna. Evam parampara praptam.
Evam parampara
Evam parampara praptam.
Imam Rajarashyo Viduhu.
Imam
Imam Rajarasya Viduhu.
Sakale Neha Mahata.
Sakalena Mahata.
Yogo Nashta Parantapa.
Yogo Nasta Parantapa.
Translation. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. It is clearly stated that Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord Himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore He declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized epic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. The spirit is demonic because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time.
So, Krishna is saying this supreme science, this transcendental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is a science, and it's received through disciplic succession. That's very important. So the disciplic succession comes in two ways. One is the saintly kings. The saintly kings are also the devotees, Raja Rishis. They are kings, but they are actually devotees because Krishna always wants the devotees to rule over the other citizens. Why? Why does Krishna want the devotees to rule over the citizens?
So that they can spread the message.
Yeah, that's right.
Gita.
Yeah, that's right. So that they can facilitate, everyone can, yeah, as you said, spread the message of Gita, and also make sure that the material needs are all taken care of, that they are very peaceful. So the Krishna wants because the king is a representative of Krishna. He's taking care of all the citizens like a father takes care. So Krishna wants to make sure that everyone is taken care of materially, they are peaceful, they are happy, and at the same time, they're given the opportunity to cultivate spiritual knowledge. So that's why he always would want the devotees, the saintly kings. And then how is this knowledge received? In disciplic succession. Through parampara. It's not that somebody else just suddenly get up one day and make his own religious principles, and then another king is making up his own religious principles. No, it's coming in parampara. It's coming like how we heard sun god gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to his son. Like that, it was coming. So there are four bona fide sampradayas, four bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas, the disciplic successions, the paramparas. One which begins from Brahmaji, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are in this Brahma Sampradaya. And then one which begins from Lakshmi Devi, that's called the Shri Sampradaya. Another which begins from Lord Shiva, it's called Rudra Sampradaya. And another is the Sampradaya which begins from the four Kumaras, the Kumar Sampradaya. And then each have their acharyas, like Brahma Madhvacharya, Sri Sampradaya Ramnachacharya, Nimbarkacharya in the four Kumaras, and Rudra Sampradaya Vishnu Swami. So like that, it's received in disciplic succession. Krishna is the original speaker of the knowledge. Then he gave it to Brahma. So become Brahma, parampara starts from Brahma. Brahma gave to Narad Muni, Narad gave it to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva gave to Madhvacharya. Like that, comes to Lord Chaitanya giving it to six Goswamis, coming to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to Srila Prabhupada, and then to us. So we are receiving the knowledge in disciplic succession. This is important, just to make sure that we are hearing the real knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's why Prabhupada put his title, Bhagavad Gita as it is, because there's so many Bhagavad Gitas, especially in English. But each is putting their own meaning to it. And if we at all put our interpretation to the Bhagavad Gita, then the message of Bhagavad Gita is lost. Then there's no meaning. Then we are just listening to our own mind, our speculation, because we all have four defects. Each human being has four defects. Does anyone know what are the four defects? The four defects are we have imperfect senses. Our eyes, they're not perfect. We may see something from far away, it looks something else. Go near, it looks something else. Then we make mistakes. When is it that we don't make mistakes? To err is human, we say. Then we are an illusion. We are an illusion. We are thinking we are the body. And we have the cheating propensity. We have the propensity to cheat others. So because of this, we are defective. So whatever knowledge we put forth is going to be defective. So how can we get the pure knowledge, the original knowledge? We hear this knowledge in the parampara, in the disciplic succession, not from the professional reciters, because professional reciters are not receiving it in disciplic succession. So there may be some personal agenda there. Now, so Krishna is saying now, 5,000 years ago, this disciplic succession was lost. People were misinterpreting this information, so he spoke it again. He started a new disciplic succession with Arjuna. That's how it is. When it gets lost, Krishna makes sure he re-speaks it for us, for our benefit. So Bhagavad Gita is not just some mental speculation or something. No, it's the origin. It's completely spiritual. It's spoken by Krishna himself. If we undermine Krishna's position, then Bhagavad Gita has no meaning. It's like some people say, oh, Krishna is just a material body. No, then his words would have no meaning. Then why, since 2 million years, we would be trying to understand it? Krishna is on the transcendental platform. He's completely spiritual, and so his words are spiritual. They're eternal. Sa eva yam mayatedya.
So evayam mayante
Yoga prokta puran tanaha.
yoga
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Bhakto si me sakha cheti.
Bhakto Shime Sakha Cheti
Rahasyam hi etad uttamam.
Rahasyam He Etad Uttamam.
Translation. Arjuna said, sorry,
Very ancient science.
what text is that?
Right now we are on 3,
Text 3.
4.3.
Yeah, I was reading 4, sorry.
No.
That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. There is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
So Krishna says here, Bhakto si me sakha cheti. So Krishna is saying, why is he speaking this science? Krishna keeps saying this is a science, practical application of knowledge. Science means you practically apply the knowledge and you can see the result, you can experience the result. Means we can revive our relationship with Supreme. It's just a theory, some fantasy, some infatuation, phantasmagoria. No, it's a science, our eternal relationship with Krishna. So why is Krishna saying, I'm speaking it to you, Arjuna? Because
He accepts Krishna.
yes, he accepts Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Here, Krishna is saying it in the verse itself. You are my devotee as well as my friend. Arjuna is Krishna's devotee. He has no envy for Krishna. He's Krishna's friend. He has no envy for Krishna and he accepts Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And so that's why Krishna is saying, you will be able to understand this transcendental mystery of the science. transcendental. The science of Bhagavad Gita is transcendental. And Prabhupada is pointing out that, people who misrepresent the book, misinterpret the book, undermine Krishna's position, don't accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then that is not Bhagavad Gita at all. That's not Bhagavad Gita. They're just borrowing the title Bhagavad Gita and instead writing their own Gitas, own commentaries. But Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Dhamma, Param Brahma. Arjuna says to Krishna, and he says that not only I'm saying it, but the great authorities, Asita, Devala, Vyas, Narad, they also say that you're God. So Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Arjuna understood the Bhagavad Gita, and he accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord. This is the way how we can receive the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any Gita which is not accepting this position, then is somebody else's misinterpretation. And then we have to find out the real Gita, as right now we are hearing Bhagavad Gita as it is. Or Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Vacha.
Aparam bhavato janma.
Aparam bhavato janma.
Param janma vivasvataha.
Param janma vivasvataha.
Katham etad vijaniyam.
Katham etat vijaniyam.
Tvam adau proktavaniti.
Tvam adau proktavan iti.
Arjuna said, the sun god Vivashvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord, so how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them, only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th, Arjuna knew perfectly well Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything and the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal, original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial, and the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons, who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone, for his own interest, know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Satchid Ananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental, and that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna, like Arjuna, is undoubtedly a misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna's putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being, subject to the modes of material nature.
Mhm. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, hey, you are my age, no? They are similar in age. Now you are saying you spoke the knowledge to sun god Vivaswan, sun 2 million years ago. Hey, you are here with me. How come you spoke 2 million years ago? So Prabhupada is helping us to understand that why is Arjuna asking this question? Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna. So he should be, he and Arjuna already knows Krishna is God. Then why is he doubting that Krishna could speak this knowledge 2 million years ago? Well, Arjuna is not doubting, but he's making a point to clarify for us because Bhagavad Gita is spoken to Arjuna, but it's meant for us actually, so that we can take light, can take knowledge from Bhagavad Gita in this age of Kali. So to clarify this point, because we may think, oh, how come it happened? And then we may make up our own interpretations. Maybe this, maybe that. But here, Arjuna wants to keep no room for any misinterpretation. No, like kind of somebody's, our mental speculation. So he's just asking Krishna, how come you spoke? But the way we can understand it is because Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He's not a material person. You know, when we think that Krishna is material, his body is material, then we are misunderstanding Krishna's position. But we need to understand that Krishna is God. His form is Satchid Ananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. He's transcendental. He's not under the control of modes of nature. He's the one who creates the modes of nature. So how can they control him? You know, he's not under the control. We are under the control of modes of nature right now because we are very tiny. Our size, the size of the spirit soul. Does anyone know what's the size of the spirit soul?
1/10 of the point of the hair, right?
One, no,
1/10,000.
10,000 of the tip of
That's
the
right.
hair.
Yeah, that's right. 1/10,000. And the size of Krishna?
Infinite.
Infinite. Yeah, it's unlimited. Then we'll say, but then infinite means no form. But that's our material mind, which cannot understand something that's infinite. So we say, oh, infinite means no form. So means Krishna is not there. No, infinite, yes. And he has a transcendental form. As we are seeing Krishna standing in front of Arjuna, speaking this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. He has a form, 2 arms, 2 lotus eyes, nose, mouth. This is Krishna. But his form is transcendental, spiritual, Sat, Chit, Ananda. His form is not material body like how we have right now. Right now, there's a difference between our body and our soul. We are the soul, we are inside this material body. But it's not like that for Krishna. Krishna's soul and his body, there's no difference. It's Krishna himself. His form is transcendental. That's the point we need to understand by studying this Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna understands this point. So we need to understand that Krishna is not ordinary. We say, yeah, we know Krishna. Yeah, I know he was stealing some butter. He was dancing with some gopis. But the real way we need to understand Krishna is to understand his position. That even though he comes in the material world, his body does not change. Our body keeps changing. As we give up one body, we take up another. But Krishna, no, never. He's not subjected to the 3 modes of material nature. the laws of material nature do not apply to Krishna. He's not forced to come to this material world. We are forced. We just find ourselves in this body. Nobody asked us a question, which body you want, human being or a cow, horse, which family you want to be born in, which country you want to be born in. You go to order one cup of tea also, you'll have so many choices. But when we are born in this body, nobody asks us any question. We just find ourselves in one body. But that's not for Krishna. Krishna does not take a material body. The Prabhupada would always give the example that the prisoners are there in the prison. They are subjected to laws of prison. But if the king visits the prison, he's not subjected to the laws of the prison. He's just visiting by himself. Nobody forced him to come inside, and nobody can stop him to leave the prison. He doesn't need to wear prisoner clothes. That's the position of the king. But if the prisoner thinks, oh, the king is also inside the prison, I'm also inside the prison, so the king is a prisoner, then the prisoner is foolish. He's undermining the authority of the king. Instead, he can use this opportunity. Oh, the king is here. Let me talk to him nicely. Let me see if he'll let me get out of the prison. Yeah. So to understand Krishna's position, Shri Bhagwan Vacha,
Shri Bhagwan Vacha
Bahuni me vyatitani
Bahune me Vyatitani
janmani tavacha arjuna
Janmani
Janmani Savacharjuna
tani aham veda sarvani
Tani Aham
Tani Aham Veda Sarvani
na tvam veda parantapa.
Na Tvam Veda Parantapa.
The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. In Brahma Samhita 5.33, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navu Yauvanam Cha Videshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of God, Govinda Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited forms, he is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39, Ramadi Murtisu Kala Niyamena Tishthan Nana Vat Nana Avtaram Akrodh Bhuvneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Parma Puman Yo Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Ram, Narsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also? In the Vedas also, it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes color yet still remains one. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Videshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, they associate Devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past lives. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord. Whereas a non devotee or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchitanand body. He is Advaita, which means there's no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity. Even when he descends to the material platform, the demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse.
So Arjuna asks, and now Krishna is replying. Had many births you and I have taken. I remember, you can. So why is Arjuna not able to remember his this births?
Because he is not Lord.
Yeah, he's not the Lord. Even though he's a pure devotee, but he can't. He's changing his body. Because he's changing his body, he forgets everything. But the Lord, does Lord change his body?
No.
No, the Lord doesn't have a body.
He has a Satchidananda body. He has a body.
Such is
He does not have a material body.
material.
Yes, he has a body. He's standing in front of Arjuna. He's speaking the Bhagavad Gita. So he has a body, but his body is not material like us, made of blood and bones and skin. No, his body is Satchit Ananda, transcendental. So there is a difference between our soul and our body, right? We are spirit souls. We are Satchidananda actually. We are spirit souls, but we are right now entrapped inside this material body. We have this covering, which is the material body. But for Krishna, there is no difference in his soul and his body. That's himself. His body is spiritual, Satchidananda. So this is the difference. Krishna never takes a material body. Never. Krishna never forgets his position. We forget our position because our size is very tiny, 1/10,000 tip of a hair, very tiny. Although we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is Satchidananda, we are also Satchidananda. The soul is Satchidananda because part and parcel of Krishna. But because we are so minute, 1/10,000 tip of the hair, we have this tendency to be covered by the material nature. And then we get the material body. because we are very tiny by nature, we have to take shelter like a creeper, no? Creeper needs shelter. So we need shelter. Now we are either taking shelter of spiritual energy or shelter of material energy. When we are taking shelter of spiritual energy in the spiritual world, we have spiritual body. If we take shelter of material energy in the material world, we have material body. But the soul is always spiritual. That we have to understand. We, the pure soul, is like a spiritual spark. And when we go to the spiritual world, the spiritual spark will have a spiritual body. But then again, over there in the spiritual world, there will be no difference between our soul and our spiritual body. No, that's what it is then. Having a spiritual body. So Srila Prabhupada is giving us so much evidence as to the position of Krishna from Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita is saying Krishna's form. Krishna is the original person. Now when we say, oh, original means old, so he should be old, white beard, long, wrinkled, hunchback. No. But Krishna's form is always appearing as fresh youth, Nava Yovanam, always as a fresh youth, because he's on the absolute platform. Lord Brahma is saying absolute, infallible, without beginning. We may think, oh, original means very old, oldest person means Krishna is the oldest, but yet he appears as a fresh youth. His form is eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. So even by studying the Vedas, we will not be able to understand Krishna's form. But the pure devotees can understand Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. By devotion that you can know me. Also in the previous verse, Krishna says, I'm giving you this knowledge because you're my devotee and my friend. So you will be able to understand this knowledge. So the way we can understand Krishna's position, the way we can understand the science of Bhagavad Gita is when we hear from the pure devotees. Associate from the pure devotees. Because the pure devotees have this knowledge. They have understood this knowledge. Lord Brahma is also saying that there are so many incarnations, expansions. There's Lord Ramachandra, there's Nrsimha, and then sub-incarnations. Krishna has many, many different types of incarnations, different types of expansions. But the original is Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajam. Like there'll be one candle. With one candle, you can light so many different candles. And all the different candles will have equal heat and light. But yet there will be one original candle. That is Krishna's position. From Krishna is coming so many incarnations, so many expansions. But the original form of God, the original personality of God is Shyam Sundar, Govinda. He's in Golok Vrindavan. 2 hands, 2 lotus eyes, peacock feather on his head, beautiful smile, 3 bended form. So this is Krishna. Krishna can be understood by the pure devotees, as is saying. By just trying to study the Vedas, it's very difficult to understand Krishna, but very easy when we study under the pure devotees, because the pure devotees know Krishna. If I ask about you from your loved one, someone you're very close with, they will know. They will know what you like, what you don't like. So they will be able to tell me more about you. But if I ask somebody who does not like you, they will not give me a correct information about you. They may misguide me as to what your position is because they have their personal interest. But somebody who is very close to you, who loves you, they will be exactly able to tell me about you, isn't it? The same. The devotees love Krishna. So they understand Krishna. They're able to exactly tell us about Krishna. But somebody who does not like Krishna is not going to give us the good, proper information about him. So this is what we try to understand. That, and also always there will be a difference between the Lord and the devotee. Krishna's position is there's no one equal to or greater than him. That is Krishna's position. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna. Can anyone say, I'm greater than God? I'm as strong as God, I'm as rich as God, I'm as beautiful as God. We will be taken to the mental hospital if we say this, right? People will think, oh, she's lost it. Only God is God. We cannot be greater than him in any aspect. Is that all right?
Yes, very good.
Are there any questions or comments? Any realizations? Anything you want to share? What you understood from today? Any points which struck you? No? Okay, then we can stop here for today. Well, Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna his position. And it's in our interest to understand Krishna's position as the Supreme Lord, so we can properly understand this great knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna understood it. As Krishna spoke, as Arjuna understood. And Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no one equal to or greater than him. Krishna's form is not material form, it's transcendental form. Krishna never changes his form, even when he comes to the material world. His form is always Satchidananda. We'll stop here for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.